Do you agree with that assessment? You can say
Yeah,
no.
I could say no.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now.
Dario and Tom of Thorium, thank you so much for your time today, especially today because we are in the release week of this new album. So I know that you guys are busy and probably getting very excited. Maybe just let's start there for a second, because Dario, obviously I know you for a long time. I think we first met over 10 years ago, well over 10 years ago. I was still living in Belgium, I think, when I met you. You are a calm person usually, but how do we feel about this album coming out? Because it is the third album, and for metal bands, a third album is always a bit of a statement. It's the number of the beast, it's the master of puppets. It's the defining album for many, many bands. So how are you going into this release right now?
Well, first of all, we try to avoid that by making this part one of a two-parter. So
exactly.
Basically, the second album, the fourth album of Thorium, will be the make or break kind of thing. So we kind of avoided that thing. So no, but I think I can speak for all of us that we're really excited about the album. We have worked very hard on it for quite a long time, since most of the songs were written during the pandemic, as well as songs for the second part, which we'll talk about maybe later. So that's about 2-3 years ago right now, and we're finally excited to let it loose on the world what we worked on for such a long time.
So Tom, for you, is this then already like old news, like these songs are a couple of years old, and for you that's like in the past and you prefer to look at what's coming next? Or do you allow yourself that break that you go like, let's hold on, this is new for all the listeners and I'm gonna get excited as well? Or is it just I've heard these songs a million times now, like, come on?
I think it's a little of column A and a little of column B at the same time, because you go through sort of a period where you finish the production, you finish the recordings, and the mixing and the mastering is all finished up, which we always do externally via Mularone from DJM, and he does Michael Romeo and Ray Alder and a bunch of things. So for me, I think in the 1 to 2 to 3 months after that mixing and mastering, it's always kind of a sort of a therapeutic sort of a period for me, where I try and let go of the whole thing for just a little. But of course, at that point you have to wait until the everything can be arranged with the record label. The pressing can get underway. You need the artwork, you need the videos and trailers and whatnot.
Exactly.
So I think through the years I've sort of learned to sort of let go of an album and let go of these songs for a couple of months, and and I think that's column B, to get excited again for the release, and usually that's a period of time where I will start to listen to the master versions again. And usually that's the point where I go, we could have done this, or maybe we could have done that.
I was just about to ask you, because it's dangerous looking to the masters again.
Because you're so sort of I think you kind of get a sort of tunnel vision during the production segment of the whole thing, and then after a couple of months of letting go of the songs and the album, I'm working on other things and preparing the release. If you then hear the master versions again, you hear the songs, it's really sort of a fresh take for you yourself on. But yeah, I'm hugely excited for the release, absolutely, and I'm really curious as always to hear what people think. My will,
we're also, making a jump from the previous album. There are some new elements in the music. There's some differences in the production, maybe, and there's maybe an all-up maturity of the sound that we would expect by a third album. However, I think let's forget about the intro. The first real song doesn't take long before we get a couple of Easter egg references to the previous album as well. So, is that just for fun, or should we consider your previous album to be the start of the new chapter of Thorium, or is
not really
this one more?
Not really. Yeah, I mean, not really. We're not trying in a way to get to a certain point. It just happens on a natural basis, and it's not like, well, we've done this or that in the past. Let's try to do something else. Just to do something else, as a matter of fact. So no, not really. It's just who we are, what we do, what Tom and I do, and what we come up with at the moment, and what we listen to, and what we like, but there's no such thing in our minds that goes like, well, on album 4 we need to have this blast speed black metal kind-ish thing, because we haven't done that before. Which does not necessarily mean it will not be on the album.
Right.
May just well be a blast beat kind of black metal thing on album 4. Just because, to thank our friends in Thorium from Denmark, because they do it as well.
There you go. Of course, maybe their drummer can come help out.
Yeah. No. But no, not really. So it's not like what happens is that the end of an album is the start of a new album. That's one thing. That's a common red line going through it, but it's a very thin red line. It's like the end of an album is the start of the new album.
I think the Easter eggs that you mentioned, that's definitely something that I really, really enjoy. In the artwork, or little details in the song lyrics and everything. I mean, I love it when these tiny little things are present. Like, I think you were referring maybe to the bridge of the opening song where we sing the title "Age of Adventure." Sorry, the Empires.
Yeah,
that's right. I love it when bands do that, because the album it's not a concept album. Neither was the previous album or the album before that. But I think if you drop sort of little Easter eggs, like you mentioned, here and there throughout the songs, and you make that reappear in the artwork or the layout, or things like that, it does really create sort of a feeling of
continuity, maybe.
Continuity, yeah, for a listener, or at least for those listeners and readers who kind of have that sensibility to notice these things.
Yeah. For me as a listener, and Dario, you said like, well, we don't really have a plan on where we want necessarily the music to be very specifically, but for me, listening on the first 2 releases, Thorium, you guys have always brought a pretty varied sound. I would maybe label you as a melodic heavy metal band, but there's elements of power metal, there's some thrash metal at times, there's some different things that are going on. For me on this album, these things come together within songs a little bit better. I don't know if that's the right word to say, but I would say before you'd had your thrashy song, power metal-y song, speeder song, and now I feel like the songs themselves take you a little bit more on that varied journey within the song, and they tell their own little story, if you will, from a musical perspective. Forget about the lyrics. Do you agree with that assessment? You can say no.
I could say no, but I get it. What you're saying. I mean, but it all came as a natural evolution of things. It's not like we planned, really. We thought about it, and we planned before we created things. Like, no, it has to be this part, this part, this part, this part combined together in one song. it's just natural evolution, and I think that's the fun part of it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, there's different elements in your sound, whether they are a little bit more prominent in one song or whether they come together. It does allow you guys to play for different audiences, support different. You could as easily play with a thrash band as with an AOR band, right? Which is kind of cool. You've played for very different audiences and supported very different bands in the last 2 years. Do you guys cater your set to that? Like, if you know that you're supporting, let's just say, like, you could be invited both by Journey and you could both be invited by Metallica. I'm just going to use those two very recognizable names. Would you change your set a little bit to be more melodic for the Journey fans and a little bit more harsh for the Metallica fans, or is that not something that you care about?
I think it's important, you know, to give the audience what they love to hear. I mean, first of all, by stating Journey or Metallica, we're going to be the support band in that case. So we're going to have like 40-minute set or 45-minute setups. So we've played, like you said, we've played with thrash metal bands in the past on tour, but we also play with heavy metal bands and progressive bands and stuff like that. So we might adjust just a little towards the audience we're experiencing on the evening, because the thing, if you play support, you want to attract new people. You want to have new fans coming in, learning all about Thorium, what it's about, and hopefully they'll buy a record and they get to know the other things that are consistent in our sound. So I think depending on what we do and who we play with, we adjust maybe 1 or 2 songs in the set, but not more.
Now, I mentioned, you know, storytelling from a music perspective and how the music kind of takes us on this journey every song. But obviously that happens as well with the lyrics. Let's talk about that for a second, because Tom, you said it's not really a concept album, but it is, in a way. All the songs are connected, and the title obviously gives us a clear indication on what this is about. You guys take us, as you've done before, back into history and talk about some epic explorations, if you will. We talk about people that, you know, weren't afraid to take some risks there. Is there it more underneath the surface than just quote unquote retelling a historical story?
Yeah, I think so. I think on one hand, the lyrics do delve into like history and classic adventure stories and stuff like that. On one hand, it's not something that's totally different from what we've done before,
right?
Because quite honestly, like most of the songs, especially lyrically, most of the lyrics to the songs could have been used for the first album or the second album. So it's not like we were like very political on the debut album and then went for like purely, you know, historical on the second one,
right?
So I mean, me personally, I love to write about stuff like that. And really sort of work in some stuff that people can interpret in different ways. So it's not purely something about, you know, history or a fantasy lyric or whatever. But I think one of the things that really inspired the part 1 and part 2 thing here is speaking about, you know, Dario and myself. We've been writing, like Dario said, during the pandemic, and so many songs and so many ideas came out of that, you know, I was absolutely certain that at the moment that we were to gather all these ideas and gather all these songs together, we would probably, and as it turned out, it actually was the case, we probably have way too much material even for 2 albums. So I had like the idea of like, you know, why not do like a 2-parter? And one of the things that I really wanted to delve into for this this album and the next one was like these classic adventure stories, like Jules Verne especially, and go for like a steampunk sort of aesthetic, like 19th century kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the song and the lyrics for Age of Adventure came from. Across the Nations is of course about Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. So yeah, it's not a concept album by any means, so there's no characters or no overarching storyline.
Yeah.
But it really is sort of loosely thematic around that general idea.
People that I have talked about who did make concept albums have always told me it's the hardest fucking thing they've ever written as an album. But is that something that's on Thorium's bucket list, to do like a full-fledged concept album with one story, characters, and a whole background and what have you, or not really interested?
Well, yeah, but I think we could have done that with like the 1302 EPO. We could have made the entire album out of it,
right,
which was basically an idea that was ringing around. I've had Tom created it lyrically and stuff like that, but I was already playing with the idea of having the Lion of Flanders concept worked out, Battle of the Golden Spurs, the whole kind of thing. 2 decades ago, I thought like, wow, so cool, Flemish history, which basically on world scale means nothing, but
nobody knows yet.
Nobody knows yet. But that's the interesting part, you can write what you want. But but we could have done that in the past. On the other hand, there's so many great things you could, write about. So I think it's fair to say that we, as Tom said, would like to rather go thematically than write on one subject for an entire album. Although, never say never.
We've talked about like 1 and 2 a little bit already, but so what should we expect for number 2 then? Like, as you said, well, we've written all this material already. It's not that you've done one album and now have to start part 2. So I assume it's not going to take 5 years before we see part 2 come out.
No, definitely not. Well, I think the general sort of skeletal structures to the songs are there. A whole heap of like lyrics that are in the works, and I think both Dario and myself had the idea of like spending 2024, which is just around the corner, of course, working on this album and really fleshing out the ideas into full-fledged songs. Now, I think probably about maybe 60-70% of the material is there, or possibly even more. I think depending on what you consider like a fully fleshed out song, but yeah, I think thematically, obviously, but also musically, I think you're going to be in for really just part 2 of
of course,
on this album. Yeah.
Okay, now you say you want to spend a lot of time in 2024 finishing this second part, but you're also going to be busy with promoting this one. I mean, you've already played some shows, obviously. We've seen some shows be announced. What can we keep our eyes open for? And just as a side note, I will be in January and February back in Belgium for a little while, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed for some shows.
Well, we've got, obviously, so as you may have seen, we've released the Bushido EP already before summer, so we did a run with our friends in Space Vacation throughout some countries. We did some shows in England, Germany, Holland, and right now till the end of this year we're gonna have the Belgian release, so to say, for the new album. So we'll focus on Belgium until the end of the year, and we've got some nice festivals coming up next year, which unfortunately we can't talk about since they haven't been announced yet. But it's cool. It's cool. We got some real cool stuff coming up, and we're actually working on traveling back to new countries and countries we've been to in the past in order to promote the new album, like Spain, Italy, Greece, you name it, Germany, obviously, which is basically the #1 country to go to with our kind of music.
For sure, yeah.
I would love to hit Scandinavia for the first time. That would be awesome. So work hard on that and see what happens.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a very busy year for you guys, and in between, you have to finish this other album as well. So watch out for a burnout, guys, because it's gonna be busy. Awesome. Well, hey, Dario and Tom, I'm really excited for you guys to release this album this week as we're speaking, and have all the fans in Belgium and beyond discover the full new album. And I hope the release show in Belgium will be a lot of fun, and we'll keep our eyes open for more announcements of more shows. Thank you guys so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you very much, Jasper.
Thank you so much.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.